thank you for being here and talking with us. Really appreciate it and welcoming us into your home. Very, very lovely.
And it's our pleasure.
Figure I'll start with our usual question. When did you start playing music?
I was 6 years old.
Ooh.
When I started. I used to have one of those toys instruments that it used to be like a harmonica sort of thing that created melodies. So I started creating songs with that, and then my grandpa was like, "Oh, wait a minute, did you just play that song? I think you should." He talked to my mom and told her to take me to the art school to do an audition because he saw potential in me, and my mom said yeah, sure, I'll take her, see how it goes. I don't know anybody from that world, so she started searching and asking people around, and she found out that the auditions were coming up. I had no age for that yet, so I came to school earlier.
Oh.
So I entered school at 7, everybody at 8, and I entered at 7. So I got in.
That would have been
nice.
a bit
So the art
scary.
school, yeah, it was a very nice school. So that's when my journey as a pianist started. I started in piano, and then I switched to percussion later on.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you've always done rhythm type stuff.
Always.
Did your grandfather play?
He used to play the guitar, but he loved actually building the instruments. He made my first pair of maracas.
Whoa.
He was very into the building of things and fixing things. And, he was great at that. But I'm the only musician in my family, per se, professional musician.
Right.
But everybody loved, it's Cuba. Everybody's a music lover. We danced a lot. We partied a lot at home. I'm not talking about Cubans. My family, it's a party family. We love parties. Growing up, there were a lot of birthdays or made-up parties. Made-up birthdays, just for an excuse to have a party. And I was the center of the attention because I was playing.
Oh.
Then an 8-year-old having a little piano at home, and then I was people were singing on top of it, improvising, because we come from Santiago, which is a very traditional son style. So people were doing the boleros. I used to accompany them on the boleros, which are the ballads in Cuba.
It's like a little 8-year-old.
I know, and after that, everything turned into a cha-cha. No matter how sad the song was, I wanna die, make it or morir, and then ding ding ding, make it or morir, and then everything turned into a cha-cha after that, and people were improvising. So those were my parties.
Oh.
And I loved it. Then that created in me that love of music. It's nice.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It's also really cool that you had that opportunity as a child to experience the attention that people would give you when you made a sound that was beautiful.
Yeah, and we had a lot of blackouts too, growing up. And there was no music, no access to TV, nothing, no internet back then. So I was the internet. So my neighbors used to come to my house. Okay, the musician is there. Play something for us, because there's nothing else to do. There are a lot of mosquitoes and heat because my city is very hot. So it was you know what, just play something. And then I would play anything for them or something I was learning at school. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yay! And then the lights came out and everybody was like, yeah! You heard this massive set of thing. Not because of me, because the lights were on again.
It's kind of like you brought the lights.
I know. It's a nice memory I have from growing up like that at my house. And music, how important music and arts are in our lives, even though we come from a place that has nothing. We grew up really poor, with access to just one pair of shoes, things like that poor. And we still managed to smile and be happy and use music as a vehicle of connecting with other people, meeting people. That's so important. That's why we still do it, right?
Music is a vehicle to connect people. I really like that.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Mohiddin, that.
How and when did you start?
Try to give a shorter answer.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
I don't know how to do that.
Well, I started singing at 3. And my grandmother actually took me to, they were doing this auditions for a choir, but the kids, I think they had to be from 4 or 5 up. And my grandma said, yeah, but she's 3. And she's like, no, she's not going to be allowed to be here. And my grandma was like, yeah, but wait till you see her singing. Because the thing is, like, I couldn't stop singing. And it was the whole time just singing more than actually talking. So they took me to the audition, and the teacher was like, yeah, that 3-year-old can sing. So, okay, so I have it. I went there, and I started my career as I would say as a musician, professional musician, because this choir had a lot of, we call it actividades, but
Shows,
it's like basically shows and performances. And I got the training of being very disciplined by that, because, imagine you have to dress up, you have to go there, you have to rehearse, you have to, be a certain time, place, at a very young age. So I had to understand all these rules at a very young age, and that made me a little bit of a workaholic nowadays, if you think about it. But then that teacher told my family about the music school tryouts, so they took me to the music school tryouts at 7 years old, just like the same system that she did. And then I wanted to play violin. My great grandmother was alive, and she always wanted everybody to play piano in the house. And I used to play the same thing like Max. I would, sit at the piano and do things by ear. My aunt at the time was the one that was taking the piano lessons. And when the teacher was leaving, I would go to the piano. I was like, oh, that's what she tried, So they were paying for one, and I was getting the lesson as well. And everybody expected me to pick piano, because at 7 you can pick piano, violin, or cello.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then for the rest of the instruments, you have to be 10 years old. But I said, no, violin. I want violin. And everybody in my house was like, but why? It's very difficult. Why? For piano, they have 10 spots. For violin, they had only 3. Why do you want violin? This is more difficult. I was like, but I want violin at 7 years old. So I actually got violin, and I got the best teacher.
Oh my God.
At the time. So that's when my journey began.
That's really cool.
No.
I think it's really cool how both of you started 1 year before you were supposed to.
Yeah.
in your own ways.
Yes.
Where it's kind of like you were ahead of people. It's really nice.
We knew what we wanted to do.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how you knew that young that's exactly like. Is there some? Do you remember a moment where you decided, or it was always like that?
I always like that, right? Dancing and
music,
and
all of that was part of. And once you enter the music school, it is a plan. Like your family actually turns that into a lifetime plan, where you have to be good, because there's no other way around. It is very, very demanding and hard. It is not fun. Honestly, studying music in Cuba is not fun until you graduate, and then you do whatever you want. But being at the music school, it's basically like a militarized way of learning music. It's very classical, and you have to practice for hours, and there's a tons of exams and a lot of material. We don't do just the instrument. You do theory and music history and piano and your instrument and choir. It is ridiculous. It's
solfege.
A separate school.
It's just solfege.
So
8 years old.
It's a separate school. The regular school you do at like half of the day, and then the other half of the day you do music school. So it is something that is very demanding of the entire family. But the reason why also families do that, not only because the kid likes music, is also because it's a way of getting out of Cuba.
Right.
So artists will travel at some point. So your family has this lifetime plan that this kid might get out of here. So let's do this.
I guess focus on this.
Yes.
So
but it requires a lot of hard work. So it's not fun. And while all our friends were playing outside in the streets, we were practicing.
Yes. That's the hardest
your whole
part.
childhood, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, that's the hard part that is not fun. Like, no one talks about that. Now we're like, yeah, I got this prize and this and that. But at the same time, we did not have a normal childhood.
Mm-hmm. Is that something when you were a child you felt like you wished you had a normal childhood?
Totally.
And,
everybody did.
And did you have this, like, did you share the vision your parents had of getting out of Cuba? With music?
Yeah, that everybody
does.
That everybody wants to get out of Cuba. But at the same time, this vision, you don't understand what your parents are telling you. Like, your friends come over and to pick you up to go play outside, and my grandma would say, like, no, she can't play because she has to practice.
Oh my God.
And then I was crying. I was like, but I want to play. And she's like, then we're going to talk in 10 years when you see her life and your life. But at that time, you don't understand. But then when the time passes, you're like, oh my God, my family actually saved me, because otherwise you're stuck in the same neighborhood or with a lifestyle that actually you could have been better. And we're not talking about just money. We're talking also about education and traveling, just traveling, seeing the world.
I know.
I mean, unfortunately for Cubans, you have to basically stay somewhere else and leave. But if it was like a normal country with no dictatorship, it would be nice to travel the world and come back.
I know, it's an island, right? But when you live in an island, you have that feeling that, is there a world out there? And then you just want, even as a kid, you want to just go out and explore the world and then come back to your family and your house, you know? It's like everybody else. But then having the wall, hitting this wall, like, no, you cannot go out, or you need this and that in order to go out of permission from the government, and this passport that costs a lot of money that you cannot afford, or the government asks you, like, what do you want a passport for? So it's not like a right that you have. It's my right to have a passport. No, you don't do that there. And then it becomes the forbidden fruit that you want. Then you start growing up saying, like, okay, you know what? I don't want nobody telling me that you cannot go here or there. Or, yes, you can have a passport, or yes, you cannot. Or if you behave, then you can have a passport, because then basically you don't grow up. That's what we do when we grow up, right? So you start understanding why your family is doing what they're doing and why they're pushing you so hard. And you ease off on them a little bit.
A little bit.
You hate them, right? It's like you're like.
Also, music school would be a comparison here, like a private school. So the school would be a little bit nicer. So when you actually have your friends at that age, very young, and you see the public schools that they go to, you're like, ooh, actually, I don't want to go to that school, which is bad, because every school should be good, like that. You know, like. But anyways, that's also a way for other kids. I remember my grandma threatened me, saying, like, oh, you don't want to practice? Okay, I'll send you to this school. The one that was right around the corner. I was like, no, okay, I'll practice. Okay, I'm good.
I know. Right. It's just sad.
It's bad. But, you know, that's the way it worked.
Yeah.
And, you know, one more thing about the system of education. It was so harsh, as we were talking about that, because I had so many friends that they were talented musicians, and then they couldn't finish.
Right.
They, you know, the pressure was so much. They couldn't take the pressure. And they just, either they went crazy. We call them, they burned themselves up, because they couldn't.
They gave up.
They give up. And they start another career. But now I'm actually encountering some of them on Facebook that they restarted, like, getting all this music software sort of thing, and like getting back into that. And they were really talented musicians, and they couldn't, you know, they had this soul of an artist, and they couldn't pursue until the end, because they were burned. They got burned.
So in a way, the school kind of takes this. It can take the soul out of a musician.
Mm-hmm. Yes. If it's too much,
Yeah.
if it's, and that plus the other side is that we weren't allowed to play our folkloric music,
What?
our popular music. Oh,
What?
Long story.
In
How
Cuban
much
music,
do we have here?
In Cuban music schools, they don't teach Cuban music.
No,
What?
I know, ridiculous.
I played Mozart, Beethoven, and Bach, and all those.
But
things.
when they tell you they do, they don't. They can tell you.
Now they
can
do.
argue.
Now
Yeah,
they do.
but they don't.
That's
It's not.
crazy.
They tell you this fabricated story that they made up by the big musicologists from the country, but every region in Cuba has their own history. You cannot tell the story of Havana music to a kid in Santiago, my city. So the music in Santiago is different. Havana, Matanzas has different. Guantanamo has different music. So, and people don't know anything about it. Nobody else. You just know one history and one tradition, and that is wrong. So basically we weren't allowed, when we grew up, we weren't allowed to play popular music. Now you are, but before we didn't used to be allowed that. You got kicked out of the school. Only playing Mozart, Beethoven, Bach. That was the only ideal thing. You should embrace your European side. Weird. Not
no
African.
wonder. No
Everything
wonder
African
everyone-
was bad.
No wonder everybody
religion,
was messed
African
up.
religion was bad. It was underground.
Yeah.
Oh, Santera. Ugh. Thing that's black magic, or black music, or we're a black country.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But you were encouraged. Let's say encouraged to embrace your European side. I don't know.
That's
We could be talking here forever
yeah.
about
That is so fascinating. You touched on traditional Cuban music and how there's different variations, and each region has a variation. Could you say a bit more about that? Like, what are the differences between the music of Havana and the music of Santiago, for example?
Oh, I mean,
so many.
so many. Santiago, it's more. In Santiago, in the mountains of Santiago, son was created. Son is a huge, biggest
What people
genre.
know as
Yeah.
Buena Vista Social Club
Yeah,
music.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that type of music.
That
Yeah.
traditional Cuban music was born in her city, in
Okay.
Santiago.
Exactly. And it comes from Changui, which is Guantanamo. So here we go. So different genres, different expressions with part Aboriginal side, part Spanish side, with Spanish instruments and Aboriginal instruments, plus the Africans who created their own instruments there. But the thing is that everything was so mixed. It's just weird. But every single city had their own traditions. Traditions in Guantanamo are different because they dance differently. They have this. If we talk about the music only, the bass line is different. The way they dance is based on the bass line. Boom, 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 boom. From the Changui, which pass on to son after that, because son has also that bass line. Boom, boom. But it's different with the guitars. Then they came.
And then son made it to Havana. And
Then
they
son made
added
it to
the trumpet.
Havana, and the rumba made it
so
to Havana, and they
interesting.
created this rumba with son, and they created timba, they created salsa, which is
Whoa.
different. So it's like, imagine, but still those cities have those traditions, Las Tunas has suku, Matanzas are a lot of religion,
The
Afro-Cuban
rumba,
religion.
the rumba in Matanzas
Plus,
is
yeah.
not played the same way that you played rumba in
Havana.
Havana. Santiago's rumba is more like Haitian, like
We have a lot of Haiti and tumba
And
francesa and contre dance, a lot. We had a lot of.
we have Cuban music is so rich.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So rich. That's why, for example, when they ask us what do we do with our music, what genre do we play, it's hard to pinpoint, because what we actually do is trying to rescue all those very old genres and try to put it in a modernized way, the way we do it, actually bringing the flavor of classical training, because we can't deny that after 17 years of going to school, it's impossible. So what we do is a mix of all of that and trying to rescue that, because actually the music that they're listening to in Cuba right now has nothing to do with any of those things. It's more like reggaeton.
Yep.
And of course, there are people that still playing traditional music, of course. But people don't consume it as much. So a lot of people from outside of Cuba appreciate that Cuban music, but the actual Cubans, they don't.
That's really interesting, actually, how in Cuba, like younger people, they're focused on reggaeton. Once you leave Cuba, you kind of have a different idea of what traditional cultural music is, because that thing always changes.
Yeah, and also the place where you go, I remember what happened to me specifically here was I came here playing a festival. It was a classical music festival, Broad Music Festival in Hamilton. And after that, people expected me to play salsa, or sing salsa. And I was like, no idea. And everybody was looking at me like, but you look like a rumbera, salsera, cubana. Like, what are you doing with, like classical music? I was like, yes, I play Bach. And everybody was looking at me like, excuse me. So actually, I was forced to look into my own music to make a way of living, which I am very grateful for right now. But it was not my plan. But getting into a symphony right now here, it's like almost impossible. And I was not expected that. They looked at me like, okay, you're Cuban, you look like that, you should play Cuban music.
Right.
That's it.
But like I was saying, traditions are different everywhere. The life as I knew it in the eastern side of Cuba, the Oriente, it's chill. It's more of a Caribbean-ish side. People dress differently than in the capital, than in Havana. People dress with those Hawaiian shirts, like kind of with palm trees on it and a lot of colors. And people wake up earlier because the sun comes out earlier. Right. And everybody invites you home. Like, you pass by like, oh, you look like you haven't had any breakfast. Come in and have breakfast. Like coffee, that's a breakfast. And, things like that. And the capital everything is faster. People dress differently. Everything is more towards the U.S.
They're rude. In Havana, they're rude.
It's loud.
It's more like in New York kind of style.
It's like
rudeness.
It will be like New York
in an island way, an island version of
still an island.
It's loud there.
But I don't know. Santiago is like, it's like, there's a hill that I should walk now. Chill. And it's hot. Why? Hey, why? Take your time. Get up there, then you tell me. Downtown is like actually uptown. Because you had to go on a hill in order to get like downtown to the village.
Oh, okay.
We call it the village, La Villa. So it's, chill. It's chill.
Yeah, and it kind of reflects the music.
And it reflects the music. Exactly.
Because like you're saying, the trumpet was brought in Havana.
Yeah, Havana has a lot of the influences from the jazz
Yeah.
scene in the States, because it's closer, so that's why. Havana has a lot of the jazz music in it, and the Americans are not 90 miles, so it had a lot of influences from the US.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The same way we influenced the American music, because when you hear jazz in New Orleans, also comes the same clave comes from Cuba.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Somehow we have some roots everywhere we go. I love it when I first got here and I started playing Turkish music, and it was amazing how familiar it felt with our 6/8 and 12/8, and I'm like, oh my god, I can put a clave on this, and it was so twisted, and I'm like, oh, but still sounds, And I don't know. I'm crazy that way, and I go crazy, and everybody looks at me just like her. But it felt nice. It felt really nice and familiar. Like maybe part of my roots are there too. Who knows?
Probably.
Should do an ancestry test.
Si los tienes enganchados, se lo brindo al bodeguero y al taxista se lo dio. También comió el panadero y hasta el de la construcción. Vio que le daba dinero, eso de ser bondadosa. Mercedes no es poca cosa, su pecado es el primero. A Mercedes le cogieron el pecado. Oye, mira, a Mercedes le cogieron los mandados. A Mercedes le cogieron el pecado. Y no se lo pidieron prestado. A Mercedes le cogieron el pecado. Te conozco a calao.
So music is part of being Cuban in a way, right?
You'd be surprised how many Cubans are not musical though.
Yeah.
But it's in the air.
It's in the air.
It's in
It
the
is
air,
there.
right?
It is loud.
It is there.
What was it like coming to Canada and experiencing Canadian music culture by comparison? Was it a shock? Was it?
You mean boring? Okay.
It was a
I
shock.
didn't say that.
I wouldn't say boring. I would say different.
Yeah.
Music is not as part of the culture as it is in Cuba.
Yeah.
Here, here it's a hobby and it's treated likewise. It's not considered a job, a serious one, not at least a serious one. People always ask you, yes, what else do you do? I'm a musician. Yeah, what else? Or it's very hard to get rent, for instance. If you say you're a musician, no, you're not gonna be rented here. Yep. It's, it's not a job that you go proud and out there and say, I'm a musician, and people will respect you for it. So that was a shock for us when we first got here, for sure. Then this country is more into sports, and they pay better. The sports are paid better than.
That's why he's gonna play sport.
Yeah, than art. I don't know. It's just different. It was different, and the appreciation. That's in terms of appreciation of music. Then people were complaining because you were practicing at home. We don't have that where we come from. You're a musician. You have to practice at home. Right. Your neighbor doesn't complain if you have drums. Oh, yes, they're loud. As long as you don't practice at, 11 or midnight, that's fine. But somebody else is having a party at midnight, and you shouldn't complain either, Just go to bed. Try to sleep. Yeah. They're living. So here, those things still shock me. That people don't... They always have a problem with that. You need a rehearsal space, rehearsal factory. You need good neighbors, a detached house or a basement in order to practice your drums. In my case, right? Violin is easier, I guess, for practice, but still, you cannot be like playing violin the whole day. That you need to practice violin the whole day in order to sound right. And then your neighbors are still going to complain. Somebody's going to call the police on you because you're practicing too much and it's too loud. And the dancing also here shocked me a lot because people don't dance. Different culture, I guess.
No, totally.
But you are called, when you're moving to a new place, you're called on changing who you are. And forgetting where you come from somehow. You're changing so many things. You're leaving behind your culture, your family, your friends, your language. And you come here and you're supposed to change and become this, in this case, this English machine, talking machine. What's your accent? You're... So only in cities like Toronto, you're called to embrace your accent, right? Let's say. But if you have an accent, if you, don't dance too much, don't smile too much, don't laugh out loud, ha ha ha, like in Cuba. be quiet, be nice, be gorgeous, be. But, and then slowly stop being yourself. Or being something for someone of when you come from. So that for me was shocking. And at times, trust me, I try to belong. Yeah, because kids do that all the time. Like, and he will do that. Yeah, he will try to belong and speak the best he can. He'll have an accent because he lives with us, right? But then at school, he'll have better accent than the one we have. So he'll try to belong. He'll renounce to his Cuban heritage. He'll say, "Oh, I don't want that. I want to be from here." But then you will never be from here, honey, because you're not because you're not from here. You're so, yes, you're from here because you were born here, but you're different, and you'll always be seen as different. And
Don't
people
worry.
will always
You're gonna
ask
be
you
seen
where
as
you come from. Even if you grew up here. Where you come from? I come from Scarborough.
No, you don't. You can't come from Scarborough.
Exactly.
You don't look like someone
You don't
from
look
there.
like from Scarborough. But he'll be from here. And those kind of things shocked us, even if we are first generation here. Immigrants. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I know, it's sad, but it's true.
You're not from here. You're not from here, but you're cute. Listen.
You're good. You're Cuban. It's a good thing.
I give you. One thing that is very, very, very different for me is the fact that sometimes, and I know I'm gonna sound bad saying this, but that's
You can talk.
that's the way I see it. Is in terms of art, how come sometimes we are very high? Okay.
Oh, baby.
We have very high standards when it comes to performing, and sometimes people might do some performances here that are not as high quality for us, for our standards, and then everybody is like, "Oh my God, amazing! That's amazing!" And you're like, "That's actually not that amazing," or the fact that. I mean, I don't know how to say it nice, so I won't say it.
Say it nice.
It's hard to say it not. We already got this interview, and they put it out there on the Illuminato.
That's what they took from it.
And they took from it saying that we said, like, here they embrace mediocrity, but basically they do, and it's hard. What it bothers me is that it's hard to tell people when they're not doing a nice job or something okay. People melt like, oh my God. And for us,
They cannot
because
handle
we grew up in
criticism.
this harsh thing, like, oh, this is wrong, you have to get better. It's okay for me to take criticism. If somebody comes to me and say, like, actually, I don't like that new song, or that song has nice, I would be like, okay, what would you like, or how do you want me to change it, or like, okay, that's my song, I would do whatever I want, whatever. But I wouldn't melt away. So people here, it's hard to give them constructive feedback, because they will melt away if you say, like, actually, you just hurt my feelings. I'm like, well, okay, but you hurt in my ear, so what about that? It's not in a bad way. It's a way that it will get better. Everybody will get better if we say, like, actually, we can do this in a better way, or let me help you, and the collaborations, and so that's one thing that here I have trouble with.
But I think what is really interesting and really exciting is your music helps break people down in that way, right? Where you kind of, like, it doesn't happen all the time, only in the right venues, but you'll have these performances where these, sad Canadians or whatever will show up, and it'll break them. It'll tap into them. It'll make them feel something they never felt before.
Yeah.
Because if they go and see a mediocre performance
Ideally.
and they get so excited about mediocrity, that shows that their standard is here. They don't even know that there's so much more to go to. There's so much more to experience.
If you want to look at it that way, that sounds cool.
But your mind has to be open to it for it to work, right?
Definitely.
Like, it's something I'll come across in Drom all the time when you guys play, or when, like, a Mosquito Bar plays, or something like that, where it's music that is so unique and so powerful that it brings you to a higher level of understanding of people. Because then you're just like, oh God, everyone here is from somewhere different, but they've come together around this sound to share with us.
Yep.
Wow. Here in Toronto, what? How are we all here together? This is beautiful.
I know.
So like I see that as something really, really powerful and really special, but really hard. Because there aren't enough spaces, and there's only little slices we're able to take out, little bites, little nibbles. Like, okay, Canadians, try this. But you convince one person, that's change, I guess.
And it's hard. With venues closing, also it's harder for artists to find space to show their art. I mean, many places have closed over the years, and in this last 2 years, even more. And we're afraid that then if they keep closing places, then there'll be no places left for artists to perform. They're making the city new, new buildings every day, but no art spaces every day, and without art, the city is nothing.
There's no life.
There's no life without art. And the day they understand that, they realize that, then it'll get better.
Yeah.
It's just, it's complicated. But still, I would be happy with a city or a country like Canada that appreciates a bit more of the arts and, and respects a little bit more of what people like us bring to the fold. Like, folk is like the folk sort of scene or indie rock scene. Many things have changed, like you cannot now tag people and put them in a box and say, okay, you don't look indie, so you don't play indie rock, you don't look at the type of a country music, so you cannot do country music or western or bluegrass or something like that, right? So you don't look like that. You have to look a certain way. You have to appeal to a certain audience, right? And things have changed. Canada is a multicultural pretty much country, and now with so much immigration, like in a few years, what is immigration then? What is Canadian?
What is Canadian?
Yeah.
But all these people together.
But I do want to thank everyone that already appreciates our arts, because there's a lot of people. We do have a lot of people that come to our concerts and drive like long drives in order to come to our concerts. So I don't want to just complain about the ones who don't, but I do want to appreciate how many people do love our music and are touched by our work. So for those people, our biggest thanks.
No, and it's about inspiration, and about opening people's minds to a new way of experiencing. So you've already converted how many people?
Converted.
Yeah, right. You've already converted how many people
here
to the better way of being. It's people who understand that music is life. It's a way of being in the world.
I think somehow these 2 years also helped a lot of people to actually appreciate it more and understand that actually life without the music and even though they maybe went to a concert once a year or twice a year, now they're like, I actually miss that. Oh, I actually don't like this performances live on Instagram or Facebook because it doesn't sound the same. I don't see people. I don't smell people. I don't smell food and all those things. But it definitely affects us the most, like the fact that we had to. I remember performing in front of a phone was like...
I know claps.
Oh my God!
At the end of the song.
Mind-blowing.
Oh.
What does it feel like to perform in front of a crowd?
In front of a crowd, it feels
yeah.
amazing, and now we appreciate that more too.
Yeah.
Like before, maybe you wouldn't even pay that much attention. We always did, but people maybe didn't appreciate it before, and now it is so important for us to feed back from them, like the energy, the hugs, the smiles, the everything. We used to give free hugs after every concert.
When you performed in Cuba, could you compare that with performing here and the way the crowd was interacting with you?
Yeah. It's hard to perform in Cuba. It's very hard.
Going back to the high standards. Okay, give me a
Right.
sec here.
Yeah. It's expected quality
Right.
from you all the time. And step up your game all the time, even if you're not famous. People are used to high quality music. So when you step on a stage, they don't want something bad to come out of you. Otherwise, they'll let you know. They'll say, that's bad, boo, and stuff like that. You don't want that.
Like on the street
Oh yeah.
in Havana,
yeah.
they're like, eh.
Like, nah, oh, this person, don't hire them again because they're bad.
Whoa.
You know, and the voice will go.
So that's why
Yeah.
street music in Cuba is so good.
Yeah.
You don't want nobody talking about you saying that you play bad. Oh, that's bad for you. No. So you always give the best.
Yeah.
And you practice a lot. People rehearse a lot. In Cuba, the bands rehearse a lot. That's why they sound the way they sound. Rehearsal is as important as a
It's their
performance.
job. They
It's their
literally
job.
go to rehearsal every day. Like I will, I was playing chamber orchestra, and I had rehearsals from Tuesday to Friday from 9 to 1.
Every day.
That's it. Then
Brilliant.
that orchestra sounded like so together. It's like, you know, super tight.
Yeah.
Because after you rehearse every day, you know, 4 days a week for 4 hours,
You
I
end
know.
up
but it sounds good.
You better sound good.
But you get paid a salary for going there and rehearsing. I mean, let's not talk about Cuban salaries, but
Yeah.
that's another conversation. But it's
That'd be
like,
great here.
imagine like if we would get paid, you know, there is a minister of culture, whatever, and we, I don't know, we get paid for rehearsals like it is your job. That would be amazing.
That'd be
it should
ideal.
be,
It should be
yeah.
your job. You
And
know?
then I rehearse every day. I promise. I'll give you an album every year, and I get 2 albums a year.
Yeah, and then that means more music, which is
Yeah.
good for everyone.
Yeah.
They don't see the potential in that of growth economically
Yeah.
in that. So that's why they don't pay attention to the sector. But well, I guess it'll change one day, hopefully.
You can't put a price on the experience. As like I remember a show I went to in like 2014 at Danforth Music Hall. It was a band called Cat Empire. They're from
Australia. I know,
Like,
I
they're-
played with them once.
No way!
I know.
They're like really high energy. They're awesome, really fun.
They're cool.
And they got everyone in the crowd to dance the whole time. And they told us certain dances to do. At one point, we all had to lock arms and dance around in a circle. And there were all these different circles of people. None of us knew each
Good
other.
luck trying to do that now.
Dancing around in a circle. And it was like, I could never put a price on that experience. It was just this beautiful moment of humanity where we're all together and you feel a oneness, you know? And
I know.
it's something that I think a lot of people haven't actually experienced yet in North America. Like they don't know. They haven't had that part of their soul unlocked. Maybe.
I don't know. Well, because they're not allowed to. They don't have
Yeah.
permission to, or
Yes.
they need to be asked to do it. Unlock yourself. It's okay.
Right.
And it's okay to fail. It's okay to do it wrong. So you can rise up and do it better, you know? And that kind of teachings don't happen in North America. You embrace whatever you have, yes, but you're not you. You're becoming this thing that is weird, right? It's a matter of enjoy yourself, enjoy the art, appreciate the art, and get out of your box, you know, your comfort zone. Get out there, do what you love, and experience being yourself for one day. See how far that gets you. Yeah, I don't know. It's great. It takes a
Experience
lot.
being yourself for one day.
At least.
Love that.
Some people wouldn't date themselves. No. You know, remember we were talking about that yesterday? It's like, I will date myself. Why not?
It's fun. It's fun.
Like, if you hate yourself that much that you cannot even talk to yourself, you cannot stand yourself for 5 minutes. You need other people, or you need things in order not to be alone with yourself. Man, that's so sad.
Yeah.
if you don't love yourself, like RuPaul says that, right? You don't love yourself. How in the hell are you gonna love somebody else? He says that, and I don't know. And hey, look at this guy. They're happy. They're the happiest.
Right?
And dogs.
Right?
He doesn't care about anything.
And we pretend like we want to learn from them, but we should actually learn from them.
True.
Life can be simple.
Could be simpler. It's true.
Iya chao amicha la micha, iya chao amicha la micha, mia de obra mia, amicha la micha, amicha la micha, amicha la micha. Iya chao amicha la micha, iya chao amicha la micha, mia de obra mia, amicha la micha, amicha la micha, amicha la micha.